They told her she wasn't pretty enough, not commercial enough, not the kind of face they wanted on the poster. Imagine that for a second. You've spent your whole life learning how to pour your soul into a song. You finally get a little bit of shine, people start whispering your name, and then the same industry you're dying to be part of looks you dead in the eye and basically says, "We don't know what to do with you." Now fast forward a few years and that same woman is standing in the middle of a Super Bowl field in her hometown singing to more than 100 million people while conservative commentators lose their minds on TV. This is the part of Ledisi's story people think they know. The Grammys, the Obama White House invitations, the Super Bowl performance that had the internet split in half. But what most folks don't realize is how close she came to walking away from all of it, how close she came to checking out completely, long before the awards, the tours, the Grammy night arguments about who should have sung which song. And just so we're clear before we go deeper, we're just doing commentary here. Everything we're talking about is based on Ledisi's own interviews, published performances, and what's already out there. You should always do your own research and make up your own mind. Because if you only see the polished performances, you miss the little girl who moved from New Orleans to Oakland and suddenly became the weird one. March 28, 1972, New Orleans, Louisiana. Ledisi Annabelle Young comes into a world where music isn't just entertainment, it's oxygen. Her mother sings with her own band, understands what it means to use your voice to survive, not just to perform. When her mother decides to move the family to Oakland, it isn't because she stopped loving New Orleans. It's because she wanted more for her kids, better opportunities, a different kind of future. But home travels with you, and that New Orleans soul doesn't just stay behind because you changed your zip code. Oakland, though, is not gentle. Not with the girl who talks different, sounds different, carries another city in her mouth. Kids hear her accent and decide she's an easy target, the nerd, the odd one, the one who doesn't quite fit, and in school, that's all people need to turn you into a daily punching bag. She's fighting after school, not metaphorically, real fights, real bruises, real fear. Imagine being a kid and knowing that last bell doesn't mean freedom, it means who's waiting for me outside today. And inside the house, it's not like there's some perfect calm to run back to. Her stepfather is an alcoholic, and anyone who's grown up around addiction knows what that means. Moods that swing like a door in a storm, tension in the air even when nobody's talking. Her mother is the provider, the one holding everything together, the strong black woman who keeps a roof over their heads, who tells her kids they're beautiful even when chaos is vibrating through the walls. So you've got this combination. Outside, she's being bullied. Inside, she's walking on eggshells. And in the middle of all that, there's this one thing that feels like it actually belongs to her: her voice. The first time she really lets it out in front of the same kids who teased her, something shifts. They stop laughing. They stop side-eyeing her accent. Suddenly, the same people who didn't get her want to stand closer, want to be friends. And that's when she realizes something huge. If she sings, everything changes. That's not just about attention, that's survival. That's a kid learning that the only time people stop hurting her is when she leans into the very thing that makes her different. At home, her mom isn't just telling her you're beautiful, she's doing something most parents of aspiring artists never do. She's pulling out copyright forms, talking about contracts, teaching her daughter to never sign anything she doesn't understand. This isn't just a mom, it's a legal secretary who knows the business side is where a lot of artists lose their freedom. So while the world is telling Ledisi she's odd, her mother is quietly building an armor around her mind. You can almost picture it. Chaos in the living room, arguments, bottles, tension, and then in another corner, this woman calmly explaining, "Don't let anybody take your rights. Don't let anybody own your work without you knowing exactly what you're doing." Still, there's a breaking point. By 18, Ledisi doesn't leave home because she hates her family. She leaves because her mom won't leave the marriage, and staying means drowning in someone else's decisions. So she steps out into the world on her own terms. She's waiting tables at Sizzler and San Leandro, then at Red Robin and Bayfair Mall. She's juggling shifts, trying to attend college, and still chasing the music that won't let her go. This is where the hustle really kicks in. She's watching Bay Area legends like Master P, Too Short, E40, guys selling tapes and CDs out the trunk, building empires one parking lot, one corner, one fan at a time. And she studies that. She doesn't just want to sing, she wants to understand how people turn art into an actual life. She forms a group using her middle name, Annabelle, and starts hitting every spot that has a speaker and a little bit of foot traffic. Flea markets, strip malls, little stages nobody remembers now. She's performing, selling CDs, shaking hands, building something brick by brick. No major label backing, no glossy PR campaign, just voice, grind, and a hard plastic CD case in her hand. In 2000, after years of this grind, she drops her independent album Soul Singer on her own label. No big machine behind it, no giant marketing budget, and still it moves tens of thousands of copies. Most people would look at that and say, this is it, this is the door opening. And the door does open. Industry people start calling, executives finally show up. But when they do, they don't tell her, we love you exactly how you are. They start the conversation with everything they think is wrong. You're not pretty enough. You're not commercial enough. You don't fit the image we have in our heads for a female R&B star. Imagine sitting across from people who hold the keys to your next level, listening to them politely dismantle your existence. And the cruel part is, she had grown up hearing the opposite at home. Her mom told her she was beautiful, her art told her she was powerful, the crowd's reaction told her she mattered. But now, these gatekeepers, whose opinions decide what gets on screens, on billboards, on playlists, are saying, we don't see it. That's when the affirmations start. Not because she's naturally overflowing with self-love, because she has to build a counter voice inside her head that can fight the one outside. She wakes up and tells herself, I'm beautiful, every single day, not as a cute Instagram quote, but as a survival mantra. Because when the world repeats the same lie long enough, it starts to sound like truth unless you answer back. She keeps pushing. More independent releases, more shows, more proof that there is an audience for what she does. But by her late 20s, the math isn't adding up. She's sold independent records, she's done everything right, and still she looks at her bank account and sees a number that makes no sense. $68. That's what's left after all the work, all the grind, all the bad business deals and wrong people who drained her time and money. $68 in the account, nowhere stable to live, and a career that looks powerful from the outside but feels like failure when you're lying away at night. So she runs. She takes 2 suitcases, leaves the rest of her life behind, and goes to New York, not to take over the city, to disappear in it. Broadway becomes her hiding place. Theater roles, workshops, ensemble work, places where she can still sing but doesn't have to deal with record label politics, doesn't have to keep hearing, you're almost enough but not quite. Her friend Richard lets her crash at his place, and she doesn't even get a bed. It's the floor. And as wild as it sounds, that floor is still a blessing, because she knows the next stop down is the street. She's curled up on that hard surface, thinking about how heavy it is to feel this empty after doing this much. She's got some credits on her resume, fans in different cities, songs people connect to, and yet, in that moment, none of it feels like it matters. This is the version of Ledisi the world doesn't see when she walks onto a red carpet in a beautiful gown. The one who stared at her account balance, lying on a borrowed floor, wondering how the girl who used her voice to survive childhood ended up here. This broke, this tired, this close to giving up on everything she thought she was meant to do. There's a point where tired stops being just, I need sleep, and turns into, I don't know why I'm still trying. That's where Ledisi found herself on that floor in New York. Her body was exhausted, her spirit was numb, and all the little disappointments that had stacked up over the years had turned into one heavy voice in her head saying, maybe this was all a mistake. She had done everything people tell you to do. Work hard, be humble, be grateful, take every gig, treat people right. And still, the math of her life was not adding up. $68 in the bank, her things stuffed into a couple of suitcases, no real safety net if anything went wrong. A career that looked like success on paper, but felt like standing on the edge of a cliff with no railing. And just a reminder, we're still just doing commentary here. We're pulling from her own interviews, public conversations, and what's already out there. We're not inside her head, but when she talks about this time in her life, you can hear how close she was to giving up completely. In that tiny space in New York, surrounded by the quiet noise of the city, she reached a day where she decided she was done. Not done with music, done with everything. The pressure, the shame, the feeling like she'd failed the little girl who used to sing to stop the bullies, the woman who raised her, the people who believed in her voice. She talks about that day as the moment she decided this would be her last one on the planet. And here's the thing about moments like that. Nobody watching from the outside can see them. To everyone else, she's somewhere working in theater, keeping her voice strong, hustling in New York. The reality is her lying there, thinking about how to disappear without disappointing her mother too badly. So what changes? Not a big speech, not a miracle check, not some label executive calling with a dream offer. A song. She turns on the radio and there it is, Nina Simone's Trouble in Mind. A voice that sounds like it has swallowed every storm and still found a way to sing through it. The piano is heavy, the words are simple, but the emotion behind them is raw and real in a way that hits her straight in the chest. Trouble in Mind. I'm blue, but I won't be blue always. You can picture her lying there, listening to that line repeat, and for the first time in a long time, she doesn't feel alone in her sadness. The way Nina wails, the grit in her tone, the way the song doesn't pretend everything is fine, but still claims that the sun is going to shine again someday, it cracks something open. She realizes someone else has felt what she's feeling. Someone else thought the darkness was going to last forever and still chose to keep singing. And if Nina could sing through that, maybe she could survive this night too. She has said in her own words that this song made her feel better, that it pulled her up, that it shifted her from "I don't want to be here anymore" to "maybe I can get up one more time." And if you've ever been close to that edge, you know how big of a miracle that small shift actually is. From that point, something inside her realigns. God, fate, timing, whatever you want to call it, starts clearing people out of her life. The ones who were using her, the ones who didn't really care about her art, the deals that were draining her instead of feeding her. She doesn't wake up suddenly rich and booked, but she does wake up with a new kind of clarity. If she's going to keep going, it has to be on her own terms. New York becomes less of a hiding place and more of a training ground. She keeps working in theater, doing shows, learning how to tell stories in different ways. She gets involved in projects like Caroline or Change and workshops for The Color Purple. Nothing is glamorous yet, but it's rebuilding her confidence. It's reminding her that she is more than what a few executives think about her looks. Around this time, another important thing happens. That song which saved her, Nina's Trouble in Mind, doesn't just stay a private memory. It plants a seed. Years later, when people tell her she shouldn't do a tribute album because you're an R&B singer, not a jazz artist, that seed is still there. She remembers how that music rescued her, and she decides she doesn't need their permission to honor the sound that raised her. So she does something everyone around her thinks is a bad idea. She spends her own money to record a Nina Simone tribute project. No guarantee it will sell, no big machine pushing it, just pure love and respect for a woman whose voice kept her alive on her worst night. The industry tries to put her in a box, and she just quietly steps out of it. And it works. That project doesn't just give her some cute side credit, it takes her around the world. Suddenly, jazz festivals, concert halls, and audiences who already love Nina are paying attention to this woman who found a way to honor that legacy without copying it. The same world that told her she didn't fit begins to realize maybe the mold itself was the problem. From there, the momentum starts building in a different way. She signs with a respected label that actually understands what she's doing. In 2007, she puts out Lost and Found, a major label debut, but with her soul still intact. Songs like All Right come straight out of that season where everything felt wrong, but she kept going anyway. It becomes an anthem for anybody trying to smile through hard times. Here's where the narrative really flips. Before this, she was an outsider begging to get into the room. Now, the rooms are opening because of the power of what she's already created. Lost and Found earns critical love, more fans, more touring. Then comes Turn Me Loose, where she plays with rock, funk, and rawer sounds, proving again she's not here to be stuffed into a neat little genre box. By the time she releases Pieces of Me in 2011, the world is catching up to what she's been trying to say all along. The title track isn't some shallow radio love song. It's her talking to anyone who has had to put themselves back together after life pulled them apart. Caregivers, people dealing with grief, folks who have spent so much time holding other people up that they forgot they were allowed to be soft and broken sometimes too. And the industry that told her she wasn't enough? Now they're saying, and the Grammy goes to... She gets her first Grammy nomination. Suddenly, the girl who once measured her value by a bank balance stuck at $68 is being called Grammy-nominated artist Ledisi. That doesn't erase the nights on the floor, the bullying, the self-doubt, but it does prove something very simple and very loud. The gatekeepers were not the final word. She's performing at high-profile events, being invited back again and again to one particular address that used to feel like another planet for Black artists with non-traditional paths, the White House. She's singing at tree lighting, historic celebrations, private events, and over and over. Over again, there's this image of her on those stages, standing in front of the first Black president and first lady, representing a kind of success that looks nothing like what those early executives thought a star should look like. And if you're really paying attention, you can see what's coming next. Because once you put a woman like that in front of presidents and packed concert halls, it's only a matter of time before the conversation shifts to the biggest mainstream stages, the biggest award shows, the most controversial decisions about who gets to sing what song in front of the whole world. It's almost funny when you look back at it. All those people in closed-door meetings telling her she didn't fit, and now she's the one being invited into the rooms that define what American culture even looks like. The White House performances keep stacking up: tree lighting ceremonies, historic gatherings, private celebrations. President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama call her back again and again, not as a novelty, but as one of their singers. Michelle especially is said to love her voice. For a dark-skinned Black woman who was once told her look wasn't commercial, that image alone says more than any award. But the story doesn't stay in those polished spaces. It moves into something messier, more political, more controversial, even if no one involved says that out loud. In 2014, the film Selma drops. Ava DuVernay's vision of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s fight for voting rights. It's heavy, it's emotional, and it needs a voice that feels like church, struggle, grief, and hope all rolled into one. That's where Ledisi comes in. She's cast as Mahalia Jackson, the gospel legend whose music carried the civil rights movement through some of its darkest days. She doesn't just sing in the soundtrack, she embodies that role on screen. When she performs Take My Hand, Precious Lord for the film, it's not just a vocal flex. It's her stepping into a lineage of Black women whose voices soothed a country while it was tearing itself apart. The performance in Selma is powerful, raw, spiritual. People who watch the movie don't forget that scene. Critics praise it, fans replay it. And as award season rolls around, a lot of folks just assume that if Take My Hand, Precious Lord is going to be performed at a big show like the Grammys, it would be Ledisi doing it. She's the voice in the movie, she's the one who carried that song for this generation in that context. But the industry doesn't always work on logic. It works on leverage, image, power. So, when the 2015 Grammy Awards happen and it's announced that Take My Hand, Precious Lord will be performed as part of a tribute segment, something unexpected happens. The woman on the stage is not Ledisi, it's Beyoncé. Now, no one is saying Beyoncé isn't talented, that's not even up for debate, but the decision hits people in a very particular way. You have a movie about Dr. King, a Black cast, a Black director who already struggled to get proper recognition that award season, and the one woman who actually sang the song in the film gets quietly pushed to the side when it's time for the biggest stage. Instead, the industry goes with the most famous name in the room. The internet does what it always does. Fans of Ledisi and fans of Selma start asking questions. Social media threads pop up. Why didn't they let the woman who did it in the movie perform it here? Why is the industry so quick to default to the safest, most marketable choice, even when someone else clearly earned that specific moment? It doesn't take long for people to start using words like snub. And remember, we're just walking through how fans reacted based on public info and what people were posting and discussing at the time. We're not in the decision room. But you could see the frustration. A lot of Black viewers felt like it was yet another example of authenticity getting sidelined so a brand could be front and center. Everyone waits for Ledisi's response. This is the part where people expect bitterness, a clapback, a cryptic dig, maybe a long social media thread dragging the Grammys, the industry, or even Beyoncé directly. She has every reason to be hurt, and honestly, nobody would be surprised if she snapped. But she doesn't. When she's asked about it, she's honest, but she refuses to turn it into a circus. She says she doesn't know why the decision was made. She acknowledges that yes, she is the one who played Mahalia Jackson in Selma and sang that song for the film. But instead of centering herself as a victim, she shifts the focus. She talks about how honored she is to have been part of the movie, to have carried that legacy even once. She reminds people that Take My Hand, Precious Lord belongs to a larger line of Black women singers, from Mahalia to Aretha, and that her version is now part of that chain. She doesn't pretend it's not weird, but she also doesn't let bitterness become the headline. In a world where a single messy quote can go viral and overshadow your entire career, that choice is different. It reveals something about her character that a Grammy speech never could. She knows what it means to fight for visibility, but she also knows who she is with or without a televised moment. She refuses to let someone else's decision shrink her sense of worth. That's the part a lot of people miss when they retell this story, the quiet power of not taking the bait. Because think about the full context. This is a woman who was bullied for her accent and her look, grew up in a chaotic home with an alcoholic stepfather, sold tens of thousands of CDs by hand, slept on a friend's floor with $68 in the bank, almost ended her life before a Nina Simone song pulled her back, rebuilt her career on her own terms, got invited into the White House multiple times. After all of that, do you really think a single performance slot, even a huge one like the Grammys, is going to redefine her story? That's the energy you feel in her response. It's not that she doesn't care, it's that she knows the journey is bigger than one night. And the thing about stories like this is that karma or God or just the weird timing of life has a way of circling back. That snub conversation refuses to die. Years later, people still bring it up when they talk about how Black women, especially darker-skinned, fuller-figured artists, get treated in this business. Ledisi doesn't have to keep rehashing it, the internet does that for her. Meanwhile, she keeps adding chapters to a life that was almost cut off on that floor in New York. She launches her own imprint, gets even more control over her music. She writes books about holding on to yourself in the middle of chaos. She produces shows. She returns to theater with projects that get rave reviews and sold-out runs. She builds a partnership with her husband that's creative and personal, working together on concerts, films, and specials that center her story the way she wants it told. She doesn't just perform, she starts teaching at a prestigious institution, pouring everything she's learned into the next generation of singers who might be told the same lies she was told about not being enough. She becomes part of the leadership inside the Recording Academy, helping shape the very institution fans once accused of overlooking her. The girl who had to fight after school just to make it home now sits in rooms where decisions about music's future get made. And just when it seems like things can't get bigger, the phone rings with an offer that feels like something out of a movie script. The kind of call that if she had gotten it back in those early days might have looked like the finish line. Now it shows up as another chapter in a story she's already rewriting. They want her to sing at the Super Bowl. Not just anywhere, in New Orleans, the city where she was born. The place whose sound lives in her phrasing, her runs, her soul, even after years away. And they don't want some safe, neutral pop ballad. They want her to sing Lift Every Voice and Sing, what most folks casually call the Black national anthem. On the biggest stage in American sports, in front of the stadium full of people, and more than 100 million watching at home, in a country that's already deeply divided about race, history, and whose songs deserve to be center stage. After surviving bullying, broke years, industry rejection, and the Grammy controversy, Ledisi is now being asked to carry a song that represents over a century of Black hope and struggle live in real time while the entire internet waits to react. And this time, there won't be any question about who should be singing it. The only real question is how the country is going to handle it once she does. When that call comes in, her first reaction isn't some slick, confident, "of course they picked me." It's disbelief. She's joked about it in interviews, how she thought people were lying to her at first, because somewhere inside, there's still that girl who was told she wasn't right for the industry. Sometimes, even after the world catches up, your own brain takes a while. But the offer is real. They want her to stand on that field and sing "Lift Every Voice and Sing." Not watered down, not tucked into a medley, not hidden in the background. Front and center. Preparing for a moment like that is not just about rehearsing the notes. The song itself is loaded, written as a hymn of hope in the face of brutal racism, adopted by generations of Black communities as a second anthem when the first one didn't always feel like it included them. Every line carries weight. Every phrase drags history behind it like a long shadow. She works with Adam Blackstone on the arrangement, the same musical director trusted with some of the biggest live performances of this era. Together, they shape a version that fits her: gospel roots, jazz sensibility, emotional build, space for that raw shout at the end that lets everyone know this is live, this is real, I am not hiding behind tracks. Then they tell her there will be children on the field with her, kids from New Orleans, kids who grew up in the same city where she was once just a little girl with a different accent and a target on her back. Now they're going to stand beside her while she sings a song written long before any of them were born about a fight that is still not fully over. The pressure is huge. 80,000 plus in the stadium, more than 130 million watching at home. No second takes, no cut, let's try that again. It's one shot, one performance that will live online forever, broken into clips, posted out of context, debated by people who weren't even in the building. Her team warns her about what's coming after. Not everyone is going to be happy. Some people will cry, thank her, say they felt seen. Others will say the song doesn't belong there, that Football Sunday isn't the place to talk about Black history, that there's only one national anthem and anything else is divisive. So she does what she's always done when the noise gets loud. She focuses on the work. On game day, she walks onto that field carrying more than just a microphone. She's carrying New Orleans. She's carrying that floor in New York. She's carrying the young woman who looked at $68 in her account and thought, maybe I wasn't meant for this. She's carrying those industry meetings where her face was a problem. She's carrying Nina Simone's piano, Mahalia's church, Aretha's phrasing, her mother's voice saying, "You are beautiful." The music starts, the camera closes in, and when she opens her mouth, it's not subtle. Her tone is clear, centered, strong. The choir behind her lifts the harmonies. The kids stand there as living proof that history doesn't just live in old photos and dusty books. It lives in who gets to stand in the spotlight and sing. And then that shout. She throws a deliberate, unscripted, gut-deep run into the performance, a vocal moment that doesn't sound polished or safe. It sounds human. She has said that shout was intentional, a way to make sure no one could claim this was pre-recorded, airbrushed, fake. It was her stamping the performance with her fingerprint in real time. Black viewers across the country talk about how emotional it felt. Social media fills up with people crying in their living rooms. Older folks who grew up singing the song in Black schools and churches, younger ones who have only recently learned what it means. For them, seeing this hymn at the Super Bowl isn't some stunt. It feels like a long overdue acknowledgement. And right on cue, the backlash hits. Commentators start calling it the Black national anthem in a mocking tone. They complain that America only has one anthem, and that bringing another song into the mix is divisive and woke. They drag in buzzwords like DEI and culture wars, talking more about politics than music. Some pretend not to know the history of the song at all, acting like it was invented last week just to upset them. This is where it's important to repeat what we always say. We're just doing commentary. We're reacting to what people publicly said and did, what's documented, what's on tape. You should always watch the performance yourself, listen to different sides, and make up your own mind. But if you look at who is actually mad and what they're actually saying, it becomes pretty clear the performance hit a nerve because it forced the country to look at something it's still not done processing. That Black people have had to create their own symbols of pride and hope because the official ones didn't always cover them. Ledisi knew this was coming. Her team prepared her for the storm. She doesn't jump into every argument. She doesn't spend her days quote tweeting bad faith takes. She lets the performance speak first. And then when she does talk about it, she brings it back to love, to history, to honoring where she's from. Because for her, it was never just about going viral. It was about using the biggest platform she's ever had to lift up a song that carried people through a much harder time than Twitter outrage. What happens next proves something the backlash can't erase. She launches the Love You Too tour with Marsha Ambrosia, hitting city after city. Instead of hiding behind huge production, the shows are stripped down. Fewer tricks, more voice. She's not trying to convince anyone she can sing. That part has been settled for years. She's connecting, storytelling between songs, folding pieces of her journey into the live experience. Her latest album celebrates grown feelings, messy relationships, complicated healing, joy that doesn't erase pain but grows around it. The kind of music people age into. There are no desperate attempts to chase trends, to sound like whatever is dominating playlists this month. She leans deeper into her lane instead of running from it. Offstage, her influence reaches quieter but equally powerful spaces. She's teaching, mentoring, showing up for young artists who remind her of herself at 18. She helps them understand publishing, contracts, ownership, the same way her mother once did for her. She knows talent is not enough in an industry that will happily chew you up if you walk in naive. Inside the Recording Academy, she takes on leadership roles, including serving as president of the Los Angeles chapter. For someone who was once on the outside watching the Grammys from a distance, it's not just symbolic, it's strategic. Being in those rooms means having a voice when decisions are made about who gets nominated, who gets celebrated, whose stories are taken seriously. Financially, things look very different from those $68 days. Estimates put her net worth in the millions now. But the real currency shows up in who icons like Prince, Chaka Khan, Patti LaBelle, Smokey Robinson, people who don't hand out compliments just to be polite. When your heroes call you, ask you to open for them, or tell interviewers that you're one of their favorite singers, that's a level of validation no chart placement can touch. And yet, even with all of that, she still talks openly about the insecurity that creeps in, about having to remind herself daily that she is beautiful, that she is enough, because the world still sends the opposite message to women who look like her. It's not some fairy tale where success cures everything. It's a constant fight to hold on to the truth about herself in a system that profits from making people doubt their own worth. From the outside, it's easy to compress her life into highlight reels. Grammy night, White House holidays, movie roles, TV appearances, Super Bowl, tour clips with fans screaming every word. But if you've listened closely to her own confessions over the years, the real story runs deeper. It's the little girl in Oakland learning that singing could stop fists. It's the teenager memorizing copyright forms because her mom refused to let anyone own her work for free. It's the young woman staring at a nearly empty account, choosing not to disappear after hearing Nina Simone refuse to lie about her pain. It's the artist standing backstage at the Grammys, knowing another woman is about to perform the song she made famous for a movie, and still choosing grace over bitterness. It's the grown woman walking onto a football field with the weight of her community on her shoulders, singing a song some people hate simply because of who it belongs to. The industry told her she wasn't pretty enough, not commercial enough, not the right fit. But the thing about voices like hers is that they don't need permission. Sooner or later, the same world that tried to shrink them has to admit the truth. And today, when Ledisi opens her mouth and sings, from tiny jazz clubs to sold-out theaters to the middle of the Super Bowl, the noise of all that old criticism gets drowned out by something a lot harder to deny. Millions of people who feel seen, healed, and lifted because she refused to stay quiet when they told her she didn't belong. Before we wrap this up, I want to hear from you. Do you think the industry really didn't know what to do with Ledisi, or did they just not want to make space for a dark-skinned, non-cookie-cutter black woman with a big voice and even bigger standards? Was the Grammy situation just business as usual, or did it feel like a real snub to the woman who actually sang that song in the movie? And what did you think of her Super Bowl performance and the backlash that came after? Drop your thoughts in the comments and keep it real but respectful. And just a reminder, we're just doing commentary here. Everything we talked about is based on public interviews, performances, and information that's already out there. This is our opinion and analysis, and you should always do your own research and make up your own mind. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Ledisi's journey, hit like, make sure you're subscribed, and turn on the bell so you don't miss when we break down the next story. Share this video with somebody who loves real singers, real stories, and artists who refuse to shrink themselves for the industry. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and wherever you are tonight, remember this: they don't get to decide who matters.